Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Yeah.
You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Orange and blue, Til Mets Do Us Part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City field gritty, Til Mets Do Us Part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple, Til Mets Do Us Part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show, Til Mets Do Us Part. John from Brooklyn, Ibby reps NJ. They're the other team, I don't care what your friends say. Mets fans, we focus like a sensei. Listen to the podcast Monday, Wednesday. Made a couple bad plays, but we still won. Character, yup, we're gonna build some. Are you gonna check the pod? Is real fun. Just like Mookie, I will, son. So invest with your heart. Orange and blue, Til Mets Do Us Part. Spring training, oh yes, it's the start. City field gritty, Til Mets Do Us Part. Hit home runs and knock it out the park. Big Apple, Til Mets Do Us Part. You gotta believe and invest with your heart. Listen to the show.
Available now on all streaming platforms. If you love the New York Mets, check out Til Mets Do Us Part. Enough rapping. Let's get to yapping.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Til Mets Do Us Part, where we are live on YouTube. We are live on Twitter or X or whatever the hell you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. I don't care where you watch, as long as you do watch. And all of this is coming courtesy of the Brella Sports Network. Shout out, as always, to John Manconi. John Saponaro back with you this week from Los Angeles, California. My co-host, Matt Ibanez, holding things down back in New Jersey. Ibby, it is nice to be back on the show. You did a great job last week, as always. Of course, one of the better rated shows when I'm not here. That's just how it goes. And I think when I'm not here, your Wi-Fi holds up a bit better, because right now it seems like Ibby might be frozen. But no, now he might be back. Ibby, you are back. Anyway, man, before we get into the conversation, before we talk to everybody who's here in the chat, how you feeling, man?
I'm feeling pretty good, but I don't feel so great about this connection right now, so I think I'm going to drop out eventually, but then I'll move to my phone and we'll make it work. But I'm doing well, John. It's good to have you back. I know I flew solo last week. We had some fun, but we missed you, so I'm pumped up that you're back. We could talk some Mets. There's a lot to get into with our team. Obviously, the month of April is done. We're here in May, and there's a lot of good stuff that came out of the month of April. There's some questionable stuff as well moving forward, but we're going to cover all of it today, and we'll see how our team goes about fixing these potential issues moving forward. But other than that, weather's good here in Jersey. I'm feeling good. You're back. We're going to talk some Mets. The chat's looking like it's filling up quickly. It's Wednesday. Let's have ourselves a show.
Yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. A lot of people just throwing in greetings right now to each other and to us, which we appreciate. We got Chris Torres, we got Carlos Ramos, we got Darren, we got Douglas Barnes, Carlos Ortiz as well. Tons of people. Armand is here. Mr. Nobody is in the chat. So a lot of folks
live. Nice.
Nice. Yeah, and I'm sure it's going to fill up more and more and more. So hello to everybody who is in here rocking with us right now. And of course, we will check in with all of your questions, comments, concerns, and all that fun stuff throughout. Ibby, there's a lot of stuff we can talk about, but the one thing that I wasn't here for last week that I kind of want to start on, just so that we can kind of get it out of the way, if that's cool, is the debut of the City Connects. And the reason why I think it's a good thing to start with is because it's kind of old news to, baseball world, but I didn't get a chance to chime in. And they are rocking the City Connects today. So I felt like it's a good time to just kind of chime in on it. Sure. Look, we had the leak. We did get it right. Some people were like, hey, those don't look like it, and I don't think that's going to be it. And we're like, we have it on good authority that this is it. And we were right. So pat ourselves on the back as a show there for getting all that info out. I like them. I think they are one of the better City Connects. I think that a lot of the City Connects get too much hate. Some of them are objectively terrible. I will give you that. They're either too simple or they're too crazy, and it's just kind of no in between. I like some of the ones that people hate on. I think that the Nationals is one of the best. They're retiring it this year, which I think is stupid because I just think it's so cool. I think it looks different. I think it captures what Washington, D.C. is about. I like the pink. I like the gray. I think all of it works. I like what they added to the 3D feel of the helmet, similar to what the Mets have. I even like the San Francisco Giants one. I know people don't like it because they don't get like the fog, and they think like it detracts from the San Francisco Giants. I think it's cool. So, that said, I probably am a fan of more of them than most people are. But I like the Mets one. I think it's really good. I don't think it's 100% 100% perfect. I would have rathered the design stay on the pants with the pinstripes and go through like the entire look. And I would have liked, I tweeted about this. I would have liked a little bit more purple. Honestly, I thought the purple is good. I think there's a way to overdo the purple, but I think if there was purple trim on the logo on the hat, or if the logo itself was purple, I think that would have been dope. I also would have liked a little bit more purple, like maybe around the collar, going down the buttons, kind of like similar to what they removed from the black jerseys. And like I said, I would have liked purple piping down the leg of the pants. Now, I didn't notice it until they actually wore them on the field, but there is some purple piping down the pants. There's the purple piping and the black piping. So that kind of ties it all together a bit better when I thought the pants were going to be a little bit more plain. But, you know, even Douglas Barnes saying, I agree, more purple. And Stephanie jumping in saying the bridge on the cap should be purple. Yeah, I think they were afraid to overdo the purple. And so I think what they did was they erred on the side of less. And I think there's just a little bit too little purple. Other than that, though, I think it's a bang up job. And I think it's one of the best City Connects. I will not be getting one because I refuse to buy one of these jerseys from Fanatics this year. I know Fanatics is changing some stuff. Nike and Fanatics, they're going to change it hopefully by the start of next season. And then if they do, I'll probably entertain getting one then. But I'm not doing it now. I can't support these jerseys. I think they look bad overall. Not the City Connects, just the Nike Fanatics, this version of the MLB jerseys I don't like. So I will not be getting one this year. Maybe next year when they increase the size of the font for the names on the back and all that stuff, then maybe I can get back involved. But that's my opinion in a nutshell on the City Connects.
Yeah, and I mean, I spoke about it in length last episode, and I was a big fan of them. I was very happy that they went with white pants as opposed to the idea of gray. I thought they would have looked like giant hefty bags if they were all gray, and I was very pumped up that it wasn't black either. I think need something to pop. I like when you have that white on the darker color, so it helps the entire uniform pop more. So in general, I'm very pumped up about them. I think they look very sharp. They look great on television. My biggest worry was the idea of the purple being integrated too much. I agree with what you're saying, but I was worried that they were going to put some like around the piping of the numbers, and it would have been hard to read. I talked about it last week. How I thought it would have been like those Marlins jerseys where the idea on paper might have looked solid, but then you try to look at it on television, you're like, I can't see anybody's name. I can't read anything. So I'm glad they went the way that they did. Overall, I would say yes, it's one of the more top shelf jerseys. Pumped up about them, and I do like the fact that they're going the route where they're allowing the starting pitcher to basically say, hey, I want to wear these jerseys tonight, and I want to wear. I like that. I didn't know that was a thing for a while. I do have a friend who's an Astros fan who would always tell me that Framber Valdez would always pick the certain jerseys that he pitched well in, he thought, with the rainbow down the side. And I was like, I never knew that was an option. Hearing that the Mets are doing that this year is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I think there was a controversy in air quotes with Chris Sale when he pitched for the White Sox. He didn't like the throwback jerseys. He didn't like the way they were made, and he pitched terribly in them. And he's like, I will never pitch in this again, and they never did. And like, so that's the the flip side of it, of the pitcher really deciding like, look, I don't like these. I don't like the way they feel, and I had a bad game, and so I'm just not doing it. I will say this, Chris Ferraro, I didn't really mention it, but he is spot on. The helmets on the Mets City Connect are bomb. Yes.
Oh my God.
The helmets are perfect. Beautiful. They are the best part. I also like how the Mets have incorporated some purple and also some pink into like their accessories. I think that looks really cool. I know like Bader always wears the pink gloves. That's like his style. But I think the pink and the purple, even orange, honestly, when Pete was wearing his regular stuff 2 days ago, his what do you call it? The shin pad when he's batting, and his elbow pad and all that stuff. Like, I thought that they really popped. So I think the orange looks good. I think purple accessories look good. I think pink accessories look good. And I think the Mets are doing a really good job. And I think it's a testament to the fact that the Mets want to wear them so much means that the players actually like them. But I got to bring this up from Stephanie, and then we can put this aside for a second. Yeah. She's saying they need to do a better job by women. She can't get the Senga jersey in Japanese in her size. And then she's saying not even custom. They don't have the font kit for women's jerseys. I called the MLB store. Yeah, you got to do a better job, man. If you're trying to grow the game, and if you're trying to get out to everybody, like you have to be available to everybody. And the one thing I would suggest, and this is not a paid advertisement, this is just something that I've done, Stephanie, if you're still here in the chat, this is just advice to you or anybody who lives in New York. And honestly, even if you don't, there's a place called Stitches in Whitestone, and Stitches handles the overflow for the on-field Mets jerseys. And so I have bought blank jerseys before and taken it to Stitches and had them with the official lettering kit put on the player of my choice. So I did it with a blank jersey a couple of years ago. I got Alonso put on there. And I did the same thing with a blank, like old throwback 2000 World Series, all black jersey. My favorite player of that era was Robin Ventura, and I got it turned into a Robin Ventura jersey. So I don't know, Stephanie, if they're going to have the Japanese font. I don't know if they're going to have everything for the City Connects because it's so new, but I would try Stitches in Whitestone. And this is for her and for anybody who wants to customize a Mets jersey. They do unbelievable work. They're very fast. Their turnaround is, about as quick as you could expect. Maybe this time of year, they also do like local teams and leagues and stuff like that. So maybe it's a little bit harder at the start of the baseball season for, travel teams and little leagues and high schools and things like that. But yeah, it's very, very, very good. And you should check them out. And their prices are not that crazy. So again, I don't know if they're going to have the lettering kit for the City Connects, and I don't know that they're going to have the lettering kit for the City Connects with Senga in Japanese because all that stuff's pretty new, but I would at least try and check there. So yeah, and, Carlos Ortiz saying Whitestone, a Bronx baby. Okay. Anyway, Ibby, we got plenty of actual baseball stuff to talk about, but this is a good segue from Carson. I personally don't care what jerseys they wear. Just stop walking 700 batters in the span of 9 innings. Jesus fucking Christ, man. Look, that's a problem, and we can start right there if you want. Because look, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad. The starting pitching, mostly good outside of Adrian Hauser. They've even done a better job this turn through the rotation, going a little longer in games, specifically Quintana and Severino. A shout out to Carlos Mendoza. The bullpen has been stellar outside of a couple things here and there, which is going to happen. There's the Vientos stuff. There's the Beatty stuff. So look, we can talk about the walks. The walks are a problem. Yeah. So let's just get that out of the way right away, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to bring up a thing real quick that graphic that I made for this episode. And I talked about it last week too, how, I did like a stock up, stock down, and the stock down was the fact that we were walking so many batters, and it was the likes of Hauser and even Quintana and Sean Manaea. And I know Manaea did okay last night, still walked 4 guys, but wasn't as efficient as we thought he could be. But when you look at the month of April for our starting pitchers, and you can see here, Severino 2.31, Manaea 3.33, Quintana 3.48, Budo 2.86, Hauser 8.37. But the problem here is not so much the ERAs outside of Hauser's, it's more so the whips. I'm down with Severino at a 1.05. I'm even fine with Budo at a 1.09. But when I see Hauser at 1.9, Quintana at 1.3, Manaea at 1.4, that's a problem. Like for me, I think if you're at the 1.2 for a whip, you can get by. I want something sub 1.2. So when I see those numbers being where they are, it's an issue. And I've been saying it over the last handful of episodes that if this team, and this is all encompassing because I think it goes beyond just the pitching. Yes, it has to be better, but the offense gets lumped in here too, because I really believe if this offense can get right and they can all get rolling at the same time and get on a little bit of a run here, it would provide what I've been saying from the start, and that is jumping the scoreboard and then allowing these pitchers to attack the strike zone. Not really so much nitpicking so much and trying to get around the zone and trying to get cute, really attacking the zone, knowing that they have some runs behind them where they can, so they can throw more strikes and hopefully be a little bit more efficient. Like that's the way I look at it, because obviously any pitcher would like to pitch with a lead. It's a different story when you're pitching from behind, or when you're pitching in a neck and neck game, like you're kind of, almost trying to be perfect. And I think with this staff, it's bordering that, or, we've always felt like they have to be perfect in order for them to really succeed. Well, they're succeeding, but the offense behind them hasn't really helped them. Hauser's a different story. I'm looking more so at the likes of a Manaya as well as a Quintana. That's what I'm really looking at in terms of being more efficient. I know Jose Quintana's coming off that great game, and we'll talk about it, but that was like, I'm not saying I want 8 innings from him every single time he's out, but, and I can bring the numbers up again because, again, overall, they're solid numbers for Quintana. He's 3.48 in 33 innings pitched, almost 34. Like, they're solid numbers, not bad, but I wanted him to be like that stalwart in the front who provides the consistent innings and who's not walking the yard. I think he's still walking too many guys. Seeing what he did last start was huge. I hope we can see more of that on a more consistent basis moving forward. Not saying 8 innings every outing, but if we can get more 6-inning outings out of him that are more efficient with less walks, that would be very helpful and ideal for this starting rotation.
And everybody who's joining in, a lot of people have joined the show in the last couple minutes. Numbers have jumped way, way up. Welcome to Til Mets Do Us Part. If you're the first time here, welcome especially to you. You might not know exactly what's going on. You might be watching this for the first time. But yeah, hit that like button, jabronis, from Carlos Ramos. We appreciate that. If you're joining us here for the first time, open forum. You can chime in whenever you like, or you can just hang out in the background. Ibby and I have plenty of things to talk about regardless. But make sure you do hit that like button. And if you stick around long enough, subscribe to the channel because Chris Ferraro chiming in right there. Sub the channel. It helps us grow, all that fun stuff, and we appreciate everybody. And I think, Ibby, that's really the thing here. A lot of people are saying, Hauser has to go. Stephanie even said it here. She goes, I'm over Hauser and I'm one of the most positive fans. She is one of the most positive fans.
Yes,
I agree with that sentiment. And I agree with, look, he has not been good and he has not shown anything. Like, there's not traditional stats, there's not advanced stats, there's not peripherals, there's not, it's hard luck, there's this, there's that. Like, everything that you point to for Hauser is that he's been mostly bad. I think he had one good start, maybe his first start of the season was good. And Chris Ferraro saying drop Hauser if you actually care about W's, saying call up Joey Fuego, Joey Lucchesi. The thing is, it'd be like, I don't know, not to put any of these guys down too much, but like, is Joey Lucchesi any better than Adrian Hauser? Like, probably not. I think we've seen the best of these guys. I think Joey Fuego can give you something every once in a while, but I don't think he's that good either. I think what you're really looking at right now is you're going to have Adrian Hauser here until Kodai Senga is ready to pitch. When Kodai Senga is ready to pitch, the worst pitcher in the rotation is going to go away. That worst pitcher is not going to be Severino because he is not going to pitch himself into that spot. It's not going to be Sean Manaea because he is not going to pitch himself into that spot. And he's too consistent overall, despite the walks, despite the lack of innings. I think he has the best upside of some of the other pitchers that we've seen in the starting rotation. It's not going to be Jose Quintana because despite the fact that he hasn't done it yet, to your point, he has the potential to be the most kind of stalwart, go out there and give you X amount of innings, X amount of time, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's probably not going to be Jose Butto because Jose Butto has the best upside, in terms of a young arm. So I think when Kodai Senga is ready to come back, that's when you're going to see Adrian Hauser gone. So I think we're probably looking at another month of Adrian Hauser, whether you like it or not. Now, look, he goes out there and he gets bombed again, gives up, 6 runs again. Yeah, then maybe you could see Joey Fuego. But I don't know if you're going to jettison him now for a less permanent solution, and Kodai Senga is a permanent solution. I even think Tyler McGill, despite the fact that he's been up and down, like you might bounce Hauser for Tyler McGill, but I don't think you're going to bounce him for Joey Fuego. And I'm not saying that I even disagree with that. I think they're kind of the same guy.
Yeah, I think, and I talked about it last week also, where, Christian Scott has become such a talking point for Mets fans because they're seeing what he's doing, the strikeout to walk ratio versus what we're seeing to basically the walk to strikeout ratio for Adrian Hauser. But I was saying too, I was like, you're probably going to see, because I agree with what Jerry Blevins said on Shea Station 2 weeks ago, and he was basically saying that this team isn't going to give up on Hauser just yet. He said he thinks you're going to see at least another month of starts, so 4 starts. When he said that, so really like 3 more starts to then try to see where he is stuff wise, if he's correcting himself when it comes to the walks. But he was like, if anything, and I agree with him 100% here, if anything, you're going to see the likes of a Lucchesi come up for a start, see what happens. You're going to see the likes of a Max Kranick come up and see what he can provide and go from there. And I was saying, like, I know everyone's excited, and I love talking about Christian Scott and the guys down low too, but I said June, if you're lucky. June, if you're lucky. And that's, Hauser really bombing out, and then Scott really providing something where he pitches himself into the conversation where you're like, we can't hold this guy back anymore. Like, a lot of things got to go right in order for that to happen. So I think there's a pecking order here. I think Hauser's here to stay for a little bit longer. And then you're going to see the likes of maybe Lucchesi and Kranick, even when Senga comes back, to ease him back in with a 6-man type of rotation. So you're looking at it and saying, you might see Lucchesi, you might see Kranick, and then when Senga gets rolling and things hopefully go all proper, that's when they might mix in, if those two names don't work out, some of the younger guys that we see down low.
Yeah, Mr. Nobody jumping in saying, I think there's no way that they don't give Hauser a lot more on time, unfortunately. And I just think that's really what it comes down to. Armand asking, does Hauser have options? No, he is out of options. And that's part of it too, Ibby. Look, I understand he was not some great get, but they did trade for him. They traded for him to be a part of this team in one way or another, either a swingman out of the bullpen, a fifth starter. And right now he has not been good, but I think he's probably a little bit better than he's shown. I don't know how much, but again, I
think he's definitely better. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you though. I don't think, unless you're going to start to bring in some long-term options for the starting rotation, I don't see the idea. I don't see why you're going to make that jump right now. I mean, and Carson bringing up another good point. I don't see Hauser leaving the rotation because of Senga, because they'll need a 6-man rotation to ease him in. Hauser is also a Stearns development child from Milwaukee. Look, I think that the Milwaukee connection, the Stearns connection, is one that is fair, but I also think that Stearns has shown that he will jettison guys when he needs to. But I think the bigger point here from Carson, Ibby, is the fact that, yeah, I didn't even think about this. When Senga comes back, they might move to a 6-man for a bit. Also, right now, the Mets are in a stretch. I think they play 31 games in 33 days, unless there's rainouts. So they're in another one of those long stretches where they might need a sixth person anyway. Right. So, I just don't think that there's right now an opportunity, as much as we all want to see him gone. And some people, Chris Ferraro, he said it a couple times here in the chat. He's like, I'd rather see Joey Fuego than Adrian Hauser. And if that's your stance, I have no beef with that. I don't necessarily agree, because I just think they're kind of the same guy. But if you'd rather see Joey Fuego, then I understand that. But I mean, that's who you're going to see. There is no Tyler McGill, whether you love him or hate him, he's injured. There is no David Peterson, whether you love him or hate him, he's on rehab, but he's still coming back from injury. Kodai Senga obviously needs to be in this rotation, but he's not going to be back yet because he's still bouncing back from injury. You're not going to see Christian Scott. Like you said, you're not going to see any of these young guys. You might see some of these other developmental pieces, or you might see Joey Fuego. And to me, just roll with Adrian Hauser a couple more times and just see, especially because he's out of options, and you will essentially have to lose him if you move on from him now. And I don't think it's a huge tragedy, but I think you need to give him more than 1 month's worth of starts. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere. I think people are, and some people want to hear, but like I said, we're probably going to move off of him, like I said, potentially within the next month if he doesn't correct himself. And then, yeah, you'll get your shots with the likes of Kranick or Lucchesi, and then we'll see if they can provide anything better. I don't think it's that much of an upgrade, but maybe an upgrade nonetheless to give us a better shot at winning, because I see Chris in the comments saying that it's about having an opportunity to win. And when you have someone like Hauser going out there and walking the yard, and then next thing you know, you're down 3-0, putting yourself in a hole, especially with how this offense has been inconsistent to this point, putting them in a 3-0 hole is not the best of things. That obviously, those days, that's when your pen is being overworked because they're working a lot more than they should be. It's about protecting these arms, because as we can see across the league right now, guys are dropping like flies. So it's about trying to keep pitchers healthy as well. And that factors into all this is definitely. So hopefully he can get the walks in line. And then I think once the walks get in line, then the ERA will then drop from the ridiculous number it's at right now. But again, a whip of 1.9, unacceptable.
It is. And look, this is again, a lot of people are going to feel this way. And Robert jumping in with this saying, Joey Fuego is definitely better than Adrian Hauser. He's younger and he needs to be given a chance in the major leagues. He's been doing good. But here's the problem. Again, if you feel that way, and you might be right. And honestly, I might rather see him there too if everything was equal. If you could send Hauser down, if he had options, you could send Hauser down and you can bring Lucchesi up. You want to reward the guy who's pitching well and demote the guy who's not pitching well. I understand that logic, but again, nothing exists in a vacuum. But Ibby, my question to you is, this is the second or third commenter who has said this. I am of the thought that you cannot say that Joey Fuego is definitely better than Adrian Hauser. I just think that that's overrating what you've seen in the minor leagues to this point. Joey Lucchesi has been on the Mets for a couple of years now. He's shown some flashes. Granted, his flashes have been better than what we've seen from Adrian Hauser in 4 starts or whatever it's been, 5 starts. But can you say that Joey Lucchesi is definitely better than Adrian Hauser and that he needs a chance? I mean, this guy has been given chances by the Mets, by the Padres. Like, I don't know that you could say that definitively.
I would say that I think that's being said, and Robert, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's being said mainly because what we're seeing from Hauser is just like I'm tired of looking at it. So it's like I've seen better things from Joey Lucchesi. So it's like, bring him up. He's doing solid in AAA. Like, bring him up and let him start. Another lefty in there, whatever. But give him an opportunity. Like, I get it from that standpoint, but I also know that Adrian Hauser has had more success in the major leagues as a mediocre, middle of the road type of pitcher, 4 ERA type of pitcher. Definitely better than the 9 that he's at right now. Definitely better than the 1.9 WHIP that he's at. He just had, he doesn't have things under control now. Are they that much different? I don't know if they're that much different. I understand people being angry and wanting like the extreme upside and saying, screw it, put Christian Scott in there. Like, I get that argument more because you're like, when a guy's ready, he's dominating a level, just bring him up and use those bullets up here. I understand that a little bit more as opposed to thinking that Lucchesi is that much better than Hauser. If anything, they're similar, but I get where he's coming from in terms of, I've seen enough with Hauser. This guy's not going to figure it out. I want this instead. And even if that doesn't work, at least we tried something different, and then we can move on to the next guy, the Kranicks, the Scotts, the Hamels of the world, whoever it may be. I get it from that standpoint, but I don't think there's this huge gap between Lucchesi's talent and Hauser's talent.
And you read it correctly, Robert, saying exactly, just tired of giving him chance after chance. That is Adrian Hauser. And that's fair. And that's what I'm saying. We're like, again, everything being equal, if you could just send him down and see if he can, quote unquote, get himself right, and you can bring up somebody who has been pitching well and deserves that shot, then I would agree with you. But and I don't know what the ceiling is on Hauser. He may not be any better than what we're seeing now, although in his career, he has been better than this. Yeah. I do understand the frustration because it sucks. Let's be honest. It sucks to walk over to your TV, turn on a game, and then you're down 5 runs in 2 innings. And, the Mets have been incredibly resilient, and the Mets have been fighting back in games. The Mets offense has been sleepwalking through 6 innings most games, and then they come alive in the nighttime. And then all of a sudden, they're back in these games, but you can only do that so many times, and you can only get down so many runs before it is, insurmountable, right? If your starter gives up 5-6 runs to start the game, well, then your bullpen has to be perfect. And you know what? Kudos to the Mets bullpen because they've been damn near perfect, but now you're putting more pressure on them in more ways than one. They got to fill more innings, and they have to be picture perfect. Otherwise, your comeback is going to fall short. You spot a team 6 runs. Well, Ibby, you got to be fucking great to come back. You got to be absolutely great. So, and Patty kind of agreeing with what I'm saying. And again, it's not a knock on anybody. She's just saying, I've seen Joey Lucchesi pitch a few times. I don't think he's an answer in the bigs. That's kind of my point. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse on this, talk too long.
He's a jag. He's just the guy. He's a jag.
He's just the guy. He's just the guy.
Yeah.
Somebody who was just the guy that has become anything but just the guy is Reed Garrett, man. If Reed Garrett is the poster child for the Mets pitching lab, fucking A to that pitching lab, man. That guy has found more miles per hour out of the bullpen. He's definitely got this. Ibby, he's got the intangibles of a late inning pitcher. Like he's got this fire about him, right? That I don't think we saw in the early iteration of him because he wasn't that good, right? But now that we've seen him pitching with success, adding some break on his pitches, adding some miles per hour, now you could see Reed Garrett being the type of guy where you're like, damn, this guy's got some swag. He's got some late inning. And I know that the bullpen has been terrific, but shout out specifically to Reed Garrett, who deserves his flowers, and a guy that I've been hypercritical of more ways than one, more times than one, and that is Adam Ottavino. Adam Ottavino has been fucking terrific. This might be the best Adam Ottavino has ever looked, outside of maybe when he was closing games earlier in his career for the Rockies and stuff like that. But even still, this might be the best Adam Ottavino that we have ever seen. And that is saying a lot because I've been really down on him, and the guy deserves credit.
I mean, I've had my feelings about Ottavino as well, but yeah, of course, you got to give flowers when they're deserved. And I think I read today that he is tops in baseball when it comes to whip. I think he's rocking a 0.047, like just something ridiculous like that. Yeah, he's been lights out. I'm upset that I took off the video from last week already, but yeah, when I talked about Reed Garrett last week, like I have some of the numbers here. The fact that his splitter against left-handed hitters was at 76.9%. when I posted it last week. I think it went down a little bit, but it's still well over 70%. His sweeper against righties was at 46.7% whiff, and his cutter against righties or lefties was at 44% whiff rate. So those numbers in general are ridiculous. And he does have that late inning swag, like you said. Like he's definitely a dog when he's on that mound. Like he's bringing it, and it's impossible not to love or feel very confident when he's on the bump. But yeah, the bullpen in general as a whole, I think I think they said that the combined average against our bullpen is like 180, and they're striking out guys at a 30% clip. Like that's lights out. And look, we're honest here. Edwin, a little bit up and down with certain spots, and it was expected because he's coming off of the injury. But the fact that you have other guys that are stepping up big time, when you look at the likes of Reed Garrett, when you look at what Jorge Lopez has been doing, I think
I'm so happy you mentioned him. A couple people have mentioned him in the comments. I didn't mean to omit
1.8, yeah, like a 1.8 ERA. Like he's been lights out. I think Diekman's numbers are solid too. You throw in Ottavino, like there's a
Rayleigh's
lot.
Rayleigh's not here right now. He
Rayleigh's
should be back
here.
Hopefully sooner rather than later. But Rayleigh was great before he went down too.
Absolutely. So again, we come back to everyone complaining about who are these bums, or who's Stern's dumpster diving for. It's like, well, let the guy do his job. These guys are going out there and they're doing very well. So like we've said before, the last handful of episodes, we want this pen to continue to be a shining light and a force for this team, but it's only going to stay that way. Like we said during the offseason, if the starting pitchers can provide that length. You can't go out there and go 3 or 4 innings. You got to give a little bit more every now and again to protect some of these guys, which is why the Severino outing, though as frustrating as that fucking game was, the Severino outing as well as the Quintana outing were so clutch in giving those guys a breather because they want to combine 16 innings over 2 games.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I also have to shout out Carlos Mendoza. The feel that he showed, we kind of alluded to it at the beginning a couple times, the feel that he showed in going out there, talking to Quintana, getting the right answers. Also, I mean, obviously shout out to Quintana saying, I want to finish this. I'm good. I still got enough freshness. Like I'm ready to go. But just from a Mendoza standpoint, because I said on this show a week into the season that he looked like he was pressing, that he looked like he was a little in over his head. I said it on Twitter too. And I said, look, I understand this is early and I understand the guy's brand new at the job. I know that he came up in New York and I know he managed some games filling in for Aaron Boone, a ton of games because Aaron Boone gets thrown out, but it's not the same when you're the guy, right? When you're the last line of defense, when, fucking no pun intended, but when the buck stops with you, it is different. And, I thought, and it's okay. It's okay to be a little in over your head. That's the human element. But it's also okay to be critical of somebody who looks like they're a little in over their head. And the first week of the season or so, Carlos Mendoza looked like that. In the time since then, he has looked like a different manager. He has looked like a different person. He has done things from a game management standpoint, from a lineup construction standpoint, and I know the front office has a hand in that too, blah, 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 but he's done a lot of things that you have to like. And the reason why I bring it up today is because it comes off of the heels of that Jose Quintana moment where, you know, he lets him stay in the game. And he lets him stay in the game, and Quintana gets out of it, and you get another inning or whatever it was, 2/3 of an inning out of the guy, and that helps keep your bullpen fresh, and you reward a guy for going out there and dealing. But I was critical. Again, this is me, you know, admitting wrong and just being honest. Like I always try to be, like we always try to be on this show. I was critical of Mendoza, even though it was early, because I thought he deserved it. Well, now I'm giving him all of the credit because I think he deserves it. And that's the bottom line. Mendoza has been very, very, very good. In more ways than one, he has been a positive for this team. And I think, I don't know how you put wins and losses on a manager, you know, especially early in a guy's career like this. And I think the Mets have won most of the games they should have, and lost most of the games that they should have outside of a couple. And I don't think any of those losses were necessarily on Mendoza, but I think that he's done a really, really good job. And I think he deserves credit for that.
100%. And I've been talking about it and saying how, you know, I think back to that Pirates game and the balk and how he was up on the field, just showing that energy and how that permeates through this entire team, and why I think that this team feels so much different than last year and even previous years. I think that he really has his finger on the pulse, and I think that, you know, he is at the heart of it. And I just think that he deserves the credit because he's been doing such a fantastic job of melding together the data and going with the gut, because what's constantly being said is this guy watches the game. He knows what's on the papers. He knows what's being said. He knows what the paper's saying in terms of the data. It's like sometimes you got to just see with your eyes and be like, this is what's going on. This is what this guy thinks. This is what I'm feeling. I'm going to roll with it. Other times where it's going to bite him, yes, absolutely, because sometimes a gut call is wrong. But that, you know, that's in essence, that's baseball, Susan. But, you know, I love the fact that this team doesn't feel so cookie cutter in terms of the data. We know that Stearns utilizes it. They have the pitching lab. They use their analytics. They do whatever. They make their lineups based off of those things. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But still feeling as though baseball exists while watching this team is a big deal. And I think it's why this team is playing the way that it's playing. And whether that, look, I'm not big on bunts and things of that nature. Like, I want you to go up there and swing the bat, but, you know, sometimes it's worked out in their favor. Sometimes it didn't, like in the early going with that Beatty at bat that we'll never forget. But I just think that overall, he has done a fantastic job of handling stuff with the media, handling the in-game, handling the bullpen, like everything that you want in a manager, especially the fan now who gets a little bit burnt out from the overuse of analytics. I think he's done a great job of not making it feel that way. There's some moments, sure, but overall, I think that I think that's why I'm so excited with what he's done to this point, and why I think this team is playing the way that they're doing. Yes, it's only a game over 500, but they're in the hunt. If you want to talk about a hunt, you know, at the start of May, but, you know, they're in the hunt. They're playing good baseball, and they're doing it without the offense really ever fully firing yet to this point in the season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with everything you just said. There's a great comment here. I think I just lost it for a second. Oh, here we go. From Carlos Ortiz. A lot of great comments, by the way, but this one in particular is the one I was looking for. Didn't know how Mendy was going to handle this year, but he's been great. I think that's been the consensus. I think you have to give credit where credit is due. Douglas Barnes saying, I'm so glad Mendoza's looking to give Lindor a day off. He needs it. Look, I love the fact that Lindor and Pete want to play every day. I don't think
it's
that
rare.
Either one of them. Yeah, it's rare.
It's rare.
It's become a throwback thing in a way where baseball players played a lot back in the day and they play less now. And look, guys like Nimmo, part of what's kept Nimmo healthy is managers, even going back to Buck, finding ways to, and I know Buck was kind of critical of this, right? In that foul territory interview where the guy gets a triple and a double and he's got to rest the next day. But like, that's what kept him healthy. That's what kept him on the field. Guys like Nimmo are going to need that kind of break. Lindor maybe doesn't need it right now in his career. Pete doesn't need it right now in his career. At least they don't want it. But you know what? Sometimes you have to protect guys from themselves too. And I think that Lindor and Pete might be more productive players, Ibby, if we played them like 150 to 155 games than 160 or 161 games, which is basically what they've done the last 2 years. So I know that's not a tremendous amount less, but I think you kind of need to find the spots to give these guys off, and you have to force it on them because, one, it's not going to get better as they get older. It's great right now that they feel like they can play every day, but you're going to have to start to get them in that mode. And the other side of it is, over the last 2 seasons, the Mets offense, whether you like it or not, I know that they had contributions 2 years ago from Marte. He had a great year. I know Nimmo had a breakout season. I know Jeff McNeil won the batting title. The Mets offense the last 2 seasons and the beginning of this season has been Pete and Lindor. When Pete's good and Lindor's good, they score runs. When they don't, they don't. So the other people in the lineup need to step it up. That's why JD Martinez, we'll talk about him in the second half, has been an important addition. That's why DJ Stewart finding a way to make an impact has been an important addition. That's why it's such a bummer that Alvarez is hurt right now. But Ibby, just to kind of segue into the break, and we'll come out, we'll talk a lot about the offense overall. Yeah. Those 2 players I mentioned, Vientos, Beatty, the list's going to go on when we talk about the offense. But I think that those guys need a little bit more of a rest, and I think that the other people in the lineup need to pick up the slack, and they're not doing it. And that's why when I'm critical of Jeff McNeil, now you know I don't love McNeil as a player, but I want to. The thing is that he's not been good. And when people want to sit there and they want to shit on Lindor like crazy, and they just let Jeff McNeil get a pass, everything that Lindor has done in his career is better than anything that Jeff McNeil has ever done in his career, and that includes the batting title. I'm sorry. So if you're gonna put somebody down, you got to be fair about it. You simply have to.
I think Jeff McNeil again gets lost in it's this. I don't know if it's like a dated outlook on something because of what you think baseball is supposed to be. It's like, he slaps the ball around and he gets on base and he plays with attitude and he plays multiple positions, and it's like
wrong attitude. It doesn't get on base enough, by the way, for people who want to. I know you're not saying
no,
it, but
I know, but like I get where you're coming from, and we all know that, I know everyone has their opinions and thoughts on Lindor. We've spoke ad nauseum about it, but I honestly look at it and I think people just think that they look at a paycheck and they think that he's supposed to be putting up 40 home run seasons and batting 300, and it's like that's what I think people assume based off of the paycheck, which is why they rip him the way that they do. But yeah, I think to bring it back to the conversation as a whole, I think the main reason why we're not seeing them get the break that, we think that they deserve here and there is because I think it's in the back of their head where they're like, if one of these guys is not in the lineup, this lineup looks even, I don't want to make it seem like this lineup is barren, but like if you take one of them out, and obviously Alvarez isn't here now either, you're just like, ooh, like, what is this lineup? And that's an issue. And I think that's why they take it upon themselves. Lindor, maybe because of what he gets paid and because he wants to be seen as that leader. Pete, because we've heard stories about how he puts a lot of pressure on himself to provide offense. And when you take one of them out, like maybe the thought process in their head is like, not winning today because I got to do something. And even with Lindor not performing the way we want him to at this point, I still think he puts himself out there every single day because he's like, I'm going to break out of this. I'm going to get on a groove and we're going to go on a win streak. Like, I think that's the mindset. And I think that's why we see these guys playing 160 plus games a year, because let's be honest, the Mets haven't really done that great of a job in terms of filling out this offense to allow them to take a rest.
And that's why, and I don't want to beat a dead horse on this, but that's why going back to the offseason, I was like, you cannot give Beatty and Vientos jobs, regardless of what they do in spring, and just hand them jobs and then say that you're trying to win games. That's why the Mets needed to go out and sign a DH, whether it was JD Martinez, whether it was the guy I wanted in Justin Turner, the guy you and I both wanted, whether it was Jorge Soler, who has not been good. It's funny. Soler's been bad. Turner's been great. JD Martinez just got here, whatever. You pick your player, but the Mets needed somebody who has provided something of legitimacy. They could not go into the season and be like, oh, yeah, well, we're giving Pete the day off today, and Vientos is playing first base. Well, who's DHing then? Oh, DJ Stewart. Well, DJ Stewart's been okay. He has a couple really big hits this season. But again, not a guy you can rely on. The guy had a good 6 or 8 weeks last year. You can't put that out there and hope for the best. Oh, yeah, Alvarez is hurt. We're giving Pete the day off. And our 3-4-5 is going to be Beatty, Vientos, and DJ Stewart. Good fucking luck with that. Good luck with that. So jump back into the comments here before we head into the break, and we'll really dive into the offense part of this when we come back. Douglas Barnes saying, I can't wait till McNeil is a great bench player. Chris Ferraro saying Nimmo getting more of a pass too. Yes, Nimmo is getting a pass. Also, to be fair, Pete is probably getting a little bit of a pass, but I have an asterisk to that, Ibby, because the thing that Pete does that none of these other players do is that in the middle of a slump, he can hit a ball off of his shoe tops into the second deck and win a game. No other player on the Mets can do that. Maybe JD Martinez now, but no other player on the Mets can do that. And despite the fact that Pete's not been great, he still has what is it, 8 home runs and
still gives you the chance.
Bunch of RBIs. So that's why, like, when I argue with people that I'd rather have Pete up in an RBI spot than Jeff McNeil. Yeah, Pete's more likely to strike out, but Pete's also more likely to hit one 500 feet. McNeil's more likely to line out softly to the third baseman on the first pitch. If McNeil's not hitting 320, I don't want him up in a big RBI spot. So
again, like that comes back to that whole thought process of someone thinking that it's this, when you're in a big spot, you got this feisty hitter and you got to fight the ball off and he's going to be up there doing what he's got to do to help us score. It's like, come on, guys. Like, you want Pete Alonso up there. Yeah, like you said, the idea of him striking out is large, but still, like, I want the guy that can tie the game, not try to just put another quarter in the merry-go-round to try and allow the next guy to do it. Like, that's fine if you're a bench guy. That's fine if you're a well-established bottom of the lineup 8-9 hitter to get it back to the top where you want the better hitters to get an opportunity. That's a different story.
I brought up this 100 from Mr. Nobody. It was kind of when I was talking, when you were talking, that overlap. And then he just said, my comment can be used for any subject. Because it just kind of lingered up there. There's a good one from Darren. All the players getting passes are homegrown. And I understand we all love homegrown guys. I do too. But listen, Lindor's been an excellent Met. And Lindor is going to be here for another 8 years. At the end of it, Lindor is going to be a borderline Hall of Famer that has played the bulk of his career with the Mets. The people hating, and I'm not talking about Darren because he's not. I'm not talking about necessarily some of the people in this chat because most of the people agree with us that watch this show. You got to fucking get over it. This is not a guy who's come here to be a mercenary. This is not a guy on a 1-year deal. This guy is going to be here.
Yours.
And when it's all said and done, Lindor is going to be the best shortstop to have ever played for the Mets franchise, period.
Yes.
So this is a good point from Darren just saying, hey, all these players are homegrown. Lindor's I know he's not, but he's as close to homegrown as it gets when you look at the acquisition of him, the contract extension, what he's done for this team, what he's meant for this team, what he's already proven to be. So people got to get over that. They have to.
Before we get into the break, I'll just say this one last thing. Like I've been saying it in a couple of the chats across everyone else's channels over the last handful of days when talking about Lindor. I said it during Ant's preview for the Cubs series as well. It's unfortunate, but Francisco Lindor is living the life of Carlos Beltran, and almost to a T, where big contract, stats, expected outcomes, and I know others, like I said, would like to dive deeper into that, but I'll keep things on the surface for now. And say that I think it really comes down to the money and that aspect. But yeah, it's true, Darren. You're talking to the big. I love Francisco Lindor. I talk about how much I love Francisco Lindor. I loved him when he was in Cleveland. One of my favorite players in the game. I think he's great for the game of baseball. Just like I loved Carlos Beltran when he was here. I loved him when he was in Kansas City. I loved him when he was in Houston. Like, big fan of his. So I see the parallels, and it's very unfortunate that he is living that life. But to John's point, get over it. He's going to be here for a long time.
Everybody loves Carlos Beltran now. I mean, everybody except Rael, but most people love Carlos Beltran now.
That's true.
Carlos Beltran, greatest free agent signing in Mets history.
Hands down.
Best center fielder to ever play for the franchise.
Hands down.
And I know we've had some really good center fielders. I know people are going to, fight me on that. None of them have been Carlos Beltran.
No, all encompassing player.
Were it not for the existence of Darryl Strawberry, Carlos Beltran's the best outfielder to ever play for the Mets, period. And he's probably better than Strawberry, in totality of their careers. Being fair, I think if Strawberry stays and Strawberry doesn't have the problems,
if you want to talk like Met, I get it.
Yeah, I think there's a chance that Strawberry's a better player overall for his career, but obviously things derailed that, and things did not derail it for Beltran. Beltran was terrific. Anyway, let's not talk about Carlos Beltran. Let's head into the break. We'll come back. We have plenty of stuff to talk about with regards to the offense. It's John Saponaro. It's Matt Ibanez. It's Til Mets Do Us Part, live on YouTube, live on Twitter, courtesy of Brella Sports. And if you're sitting here, there's over 250 of you right now. We appreciate all of you. Go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We are not going anywhere. This is just a quick 30-second reset and an ad spot we need for the audio version of the show. So it is not a long break. We will be right back. Yo, just like that, we are back with Til Mets Do Us Part, live on YouTube, live on Twitter and X, all courtesy of the Brella Sports Network. And we do want to remind you that although there's a lot of people watching right now, and a lot of people have been here since the very beginning, and they are going to be here whenever we end in the next 20, 30 minutes or so, we understand that not everybody can do that all the time. So if you missed anything and you want to catch up, you can do that as soon as we end the broadcast. You can watch it from start to finish on our YouTube channel, which is appropriately called Til Mets Do Us Part. Most of you are watching us live there right now. For anybody who's watching on Twitter or X, whether it's the show handle, my handle, Ibby's handle, be sure to follow us there on social media, of course. But you can also follow and subscribe and turn notifications on the YouTube channel as well. Just gives you more opportunities to watch, more opportunities to know when we're going live, all that fun stuff. And if you can't do any of that, which we understand, again, not everybody can do, not every week, you can listen to this show about an hour after we're done. It drops as an audio podcast across all of the platforms that you are familiar with. And I promise, some that you've never even heard of. We are out there in these streets. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, even Google Podcasts, which they keep saying is going away, but it is still alive and kicking. And like I said, it is all courtesy of Brella Sports Network. Ibby, before we get into it, back into the conversation, let's talk quickly about independent safes.
Independent safes, one of my favorite ad spots that we do on the show. IndependentSafes.com is protecting homes and businesses with secure residential and commercial safes, fireproof peace of mind in every corner. Visit IndependentSafes.com today for security that stands strong. And obviously, again, spending over $99, which is basically every piece of, every item on the site. Spending over $99, you get free shipping. Tell them that we sent you. Get a nice safe, whatever you need.
Get a safe, man.
Get a safe. Oh, why not? I mean, I got one. I want a small one, but should I get a new one? I don't know. Maybe I'm poor right now, but I might need
one. I might need to get one.
I think sometimes we got to put John's phone inside of an independent safe to stop him from tweeting. I don't know if he wants to add that to his carry-on when he's in the Delta Sky Lounge or whatever it's called. I don't think he wants to do that. But maybe sometimes to avoid that phone from burning up, John should put his phone into an independent safe. Enjoy the TV, enjoy the cable, whatever it is that he's watching on those flights. So he's not fighting John 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 on Twitter at 11 o'clock at night.
I think I've done a better job lately. I will say that. I think I've done a better job.
I think you have.
Chris Farrar with a good point. My realtor recommended a fireproof safe in your house to protect those important documents. And you know where you can get that? At independent safes. But you know what? listen, Carlos Ramos, he's always on top of things. He says hashtag trim your balls, hashtag TMDUP. And that means, of course, we have to talk about our friends over at MANSCAPED. You do not want to miss the opportunity with the weather warming up. You got to soak up the summer vibes and unveil your beach bod. Well, you're in luck because our friends over at MANSCAPED have you covered from head to toe, literally from head to toe with the Performance Package 5.0 Ultra. It is the ultimate all-in-one grooming kit to have you looking and feeling your best in the summer sun. Go ahead and trust Manscaped. Unlock the confidence you need. Turn heads this season. Join the 10 million men worldwide who trust manscaped.com, and you can get 20% off and free shipping site-wide from all of us here at Til Mets Do Us Part with the code TMDUP. Let's make this summer your smoothest summer yet. Once again, TMDUP is the code. You get 20% off. You get free shipping site-wide, and that means you get to, like Carlos says, trim your balls.
Trim them, baby. Do what you got to do. Trim them up.
Look, I do have to, this is not an ad, but Shay asked me if I could show this on the show. Here's where my support of Lindor goes. Boom. Where's the camera? There we go. Boom. I got my brand new
Lindor 2 cleats.
Lindor New Balance. I'm going to be rocking those tonight at my softball game. You know,
I mean, if we're going to be like, we're being serious here. Like, I got too much stuff around me. We got Lindor right here. We got, I mean, if we're going to be doing this, I mean, I got my favorite piece from Foco. Welcome to Queens. Playing off of the Welcome Coming to America. So, yeah, I got plenty of stuff elsewhere throughout the house as well. But we got to support our guy. We love our guy.
We got to support Francisco Lindor. And honestly, again, nobody's paying me to say this, but just in my personal life, I've just become really accustomed to New Balance cleats. I think they're really comfortable.
They're the best.
And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna rock the Lindor ones because I think the pattern is dope. They stand out, but you know, it's cool. So anyway, got those Lindor cleats. Looking forward to the field tonight at my softball game. That said, you guys know what we got to talk about. We got to talk about the offense. People have been throwing out comments here. Mr. Nobody, the offense has been wasting a ton of great pitching performances, not to mention our time. We have Darren saying Stewart making like a poor man Schwarber. We've got Rosie saying, oh boy, Joey Wendell. Why is Joey Wendell on this team? Mr. Nobody saying that Sevy game was a tough one to forget. And that's really piggybacking off of his last comment because not only did Severino deserve to win, the Mets deserve to win, but the offense did not show up. They did not hold up their end of the bargain. We have Charlie from a moment ago saying, in the criticism of McNeil, my wife listening from the kitchen just shouted, that's right. Yes, of course. Your wife gets it. She completely understands. And this is Chris Ferrara saying, can't wait for the convo on Vientos. And then I'm bringing these both up together because I think it's important. And I'm saying this now, I'm kind of over the DJ Stewart experiment. So, Ibby, that's a little bit of a controversial take right there. So let's take DJ Stewart and then segue right into Vientos.
Well, I'm going to go with DJ Stewart because, Chris, if you're still here, I did happen to make a very cool graphic when it comes to DJ Stewart, when it comes to the month of April. And DJ Stewart is a man on fire because he's got 5 singles, 2 doubles, 4 home runs, 14 RBIs, 13 walks with a weighted runs created plus of 147. And look, I can understand if you don't like the fact that maybe some of these numbers are, you know, on top of each other in terms of when they happen. But overall, when you look at DJ Stewart from what we want him to be, which is a DH, those type of numbers, you know, it's kind of hard not to be on board with them. I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but I want to say his OPS is in the 820s, 830s, or last time I checked, it was like 815. That was before the home run, so I'm sure it went up. But you know, like he's one of, in terms of all-encompassing stats, one of the better hitters in terms of the offense when it comes to the team. So, you know, I think he's doing a great job in proving that he belongs. I know some people thought that, you know, he might get sent down because he still has the option. And what happens when JD gets here? And, you know, when Vientos hits the home run, which we'll talk about in a minute, maybe, you know, DJ gets sent down. What's going to happen? This and that. But I think DJ Stewart to this point, and shout out to Keith over at Shea and Sons for dubbing him the ShopRite Schwarber. I think that I think he's done a good job in improving his overall worth, and the fact that David Stearns as well as Carlos Mendoza were proper in telling him to not only that you're going to be a part of this team like Stearns did, but Mendoza telling him to smile, relax. We know what you can do. Go out there and do it. And to this point, ever since that time, he's gone out there and he's done it.
I just jump into the comments here.
Yeah, sure.
Junior Swingman saying, "What up, everyone? I missed the whole show. You did not. We're probably about
Junior,
20 minutes left at minimum, maybe 30. So you're good. And we talked about the pitching a lot in the first half. We're talking about the offense here, mostly in the second half. Some good, some bad, same way that we did in the first half. But Junior, you can go back and listen or watch anything you missed. Ibby, I'm right now on DJ Stewart's baseball reference page. And I don't care about money, but I'm going to start there because some people do, to kind of combine it with the Lindor conversation. DJ Stewart right now is on a 1-year, $1.38 million contract. Okay. So the production he's giving you for that money is astronomical. And he hasn't even really gotten hot. He's just been good in spots. But to your point, right now he is rocking with an 849 OPS and a 377 on base percentage. To go along with 4 home runs, that's pretty damn good for a guy who's a part-time player, sometimes DH, all this stuff. Look, I understand some of the ire towards DJ Stewart is going to come from the fact that people want Mark Vientos on this team. But Ibby, I'm going to say something that everybody here knows, but it's the reason why they're not swapping one for the other. DJ Stewart is left-handed. Mark Vientos is right-handed. Who on this team right now, from the left-handed side of the plate, is providing offense even close to what DJ Stewart is doing?
I'm going to say nobody. Really.
Correct. That's why. The Mets need a left-handed bat. Yeah. The right-handed bats are producing better. Now, Nimmo has had spots. He's had games, of course. Now, him and DJ Stewart are different kinds of players anyway. You're not really looking for them to offer the same thing, but Nimmo's not been good, but he's been okay. He's done some things, whatever. Lindor, if you want to criticize Lindor, it's the fact that he has not hit mostly left-handed, so there's that. Brett Beatty has not been good. Jeff McNeil, well documented on this show, has not been good. And again, with the conversation of McNeil, you're kind of looking at something different from McNeil with regards to DJ Stewart. You would hope that Brett Beatty could alleviate some of that by providing you with some left-handed power, but guess what? He never does. So DJ Stewart needs to be on this team right now. DJ Stewart looked real bad the first week plus of the season, and there was some conversations that could be had. But to his credit, he's turned it around significantly, and you cannot sneeze at the 377 on base and the 849 OPS. That's good. That's excellent.
You know what? The other thing that he provides, and you brought it up when you were talking about Alonso, right now at least, outside of JD, he's the guy that when he steps up to the plate, you're like, this guy can park one, and that matters. It does. And, we could talk about JD and how his numbers in general haven't, they're not, blowing you off the page just yet, but presence matters within a lineup. And eventually the stats will come as well because JD Martinez is a fantastic hitter. We know that. So eventually the numbers will match the presence, but I think another big thing that Stewart provides is the ability for someone to put the ball over the fence, which I think this team desperately needs. And yes, some of these numbers have come in short spurts. And if you want to say, it hasn't been the entire story of the entire stay up here to this point. And I can agree with you to an extent, but still you need players that can actually put the ball over the fence. And DJ Stewart is one of the few on this team that can actually do that.
I pulled up the tweet, and we don't have to read the whole thing, but yes, you shouted out Keefe earlier for saying shop right Schwarber. Carson also said earlier, right around the same time, he said DJ Stewart is legit just a Kyle Schwarber disciple. Swings at strikes, doesn't chase, pulls fly balls, and shit wrecks. And I know that's it's Carson because that's in his vernacular when he's in here in the comments. And it's true. That's the thing that he is providing. He is providing something. And we compare, or I was quick to say, why is McNeil not getting the criticism and why is Lindor getting the criticism? A more fair 1-for-1 might be, why is McNeil getting a pass while DJ Stewart gets dumped on? It is inarguable who has been a better offensive player to this point in the season on May 1st. DJ Stewart has been so much more productive than Jeff McNeil. It is not even funny. And it is more in line, and people are going to get mad at this because they're going to say talking about trying to hit home runs. This is not what I mean. But DJ Stewart is a modern baseball player. Jeff McNeil is a 100-year-old baseball player.
When you look at it, I'm going to bring up Darren's comment right here, and it's spot on. It's like Stewart, even though he's batting 200, moves the line by walking, it can run into one. It's correct. Spot on, because I look, and you can look. This is why batting average isn't everything. So it's like I bring up these numbers again.
208 batting average, 377 on base.
Yeah, I look at this again. I bring up these numbers again, and I'll keep Darren's comment there as well. Like I see these numbers, and he's batting 200, but like I could also look at Jeff McNeil's numbers. Oh, he's batting 265. But it's like, yeah, but the rest of his encompassing numbers aren't very good, and he's not providing me anything. Like at least Stewart, when he's up there, yeah, there's a potential that he's gonna strike out in a big spot or whatever. But he's running into a lot more offense as opposed to what Jeff McNeil's doing. So again, there's a giant difference there, big time.
Also, I don't want to raise anybody's alarm here, but Jeff McNeil strikes out a lot, Ibby. Jeff McNeil strikes out a lot for a guy whose reputation is putting the
ball in play. Yeah.
He strikes out a lot. And again, my criticism has always been that he makes too much contact early. Also, Jeff McNeil comes up, 2 runners on, 2 outs, swings at the first pitch, lines out softly to the shortstop, and then throws his helmet on the ground. That's not a productive at bat. Now, I know a lot of this is pure just talent. Okay, I'm not expecting everybody to be JD Martinez, but Ibby, in JD Martinez's first game, he gets down 2 strikes and he hits that almost home run, the double off the right field wall that knocks in the run. The Mets lose the game, but he hit that double off the wall to knock in the run. Mm-hmm. I understand that not everybody can go the other way with that amount of power. But when you're talking about going the other way, that's the situation and the style to do it. Down 2 strikes, ball on the outside part of the plate, hit the ball where it's pitched, and drive it the other way. Now, not everybody can drive it the other way. And if you're a McNeil and you have to slap it the other way, or if you're a Beatty and you have to slap it the other way with 2 strikes and a runner in scoring position and the ball on the outside part of the plate, I have no beef with you hitting a 75-mile-an-hour single over the shortstop's head. But looking to do that on the first pitch is not being a successful offensive player. Looking to do that and just slap the ball in play is not good. That's why McNeil has not been good, and that's why Beatty has never been good. Because Beatty gets up there and he's slapping the ball on the ground, or he's pulling the ball to second base. That's not what you should be doing early in the count. And if it means you strike out more, that's okay. And no, again, before people get mad at me and say, like, guys strike out too much and guys don't know how to put the ball in play and guys don't know how to hit the ball the other way, I understand that, again, there's a point to that, and you do need that in baseball. But, Ibby, you cannot be afraid early in counts to sell out on pitches and try to drive the ball. When Keith Hernandez talks about learning how to pull, this is what he's talking about. Guess what has made DJ Stewart go from a guy who was a first-round pick that has never panned out to a guy who is a serviceable major league player? He learned how to pull the ball for power. It's the only difference. It's the only thing he learned how to do.
Looking at some of the comments here, bringing up Carson's real quick. Talk about McNeil doesn't walk that much either, John. Oops. They're going to come for me. And there's one thing I do want to say, because I know Carson put out it was a great thing. Check out his Twitter, breaking down McNeil and all that's gone on with him over the last 5 years, really. And I did see someone, jump into the comments on him or jump into his mentions saying how, stop going after the guy. He's going to come out of it and this, and this. And it's like, well, I would understand that more if that wasn't on the thread that just broke down why he's not going to do those things, because it was telling you how everything's trending down and going, getting worse, but deciding to say, no, it's going to change. He's going to be, the old guy. It's like, well, the old guy was here like 3 years ago. The last 2 years, it's been trending down. So it's like but these are the same type of people that are going to bash other players and say how much they stink and this and that. So yeah, that's whatever. But Junior Swingman also coming out to go and saying Jeff's old hitting approach left on the 7 train and hasn't returned. Look, there's a lot.
His hitting approach has stayed the same.
It's just, and the game's evolving, and it's just he's not getting on base at the clip that he used to, and it's just you mix in I don't know, maybe this is just me from a look standpoint, which isn't everything, but you couple that in with like the way the hair is getting grayer and the beard's getting grayer. It's like, maybe this guy's just done, man. Like there's nothing else to really offer, because it's almost as if the game is passing him by based off of how his profile sits with how the game is going.
And look, they're not the same player, they're not the same profile, but it's a large part of the issue that I have with Brett Baty too. Look, I tweeted it out and I meant it, because I will admit when I'm wrong and I will take credit when I'm right. And I've been wrong and I've been right and I've been everywhere in between. I said to start the season that Brett Baty was making me look foolish, because Brett Baty was doing some nice things over the first 2 weeks, and he was. Now, Ibby, the red flags were still there, but the results were better.
Yeah.
And some of the peripherals were also better. And so you could start to draw a line. Carson did a great breakdown on this too, I believe.
Yeah.
You can draw a line to like, oh, here's where he's making better contact, and here's where he's pulling the ball more. And I'm paraphrasing, and you can see how the results were ticking up, but they weren't like swung. The pendulum didn't swing in the other direction.
Right.
It was still like, okay, there's still a lot of red flags here. Now the red flags have caught back up, and he's doing the same thing he's always done.
Yeah.
And what he's always done is pulled the ball on the ground too much and not pulled the ball in the air. So he goes the other way. And Carson says this, 3.2% of opposite field fly balls leave the ballpark. Got to pull the ball in the air, man. You have to pull the ball in the air.
It's upsetting, because I know I've been the one, backing Baty and wanting more. And I was very excited at the start, because I thought it was finally going to, bring forth what I thought could be much better from the hitting profile, but it's reverted back at even a worse clip as to what it was last year. The hard contact rate is just not there. The ground ball rate is up. It's just like, it's very disheartening when this guy has power, but it's just, the lack of, it's crazy, because you see all these other things clicking for certain people, especially on the pitching side. And then you're like, well, why can't we just work on the swing path a little bit here to get the ball in the air more? And look, I know it's easier said than done in certain cases, but some guys just revert back. But I know that changes can be made to certain things. And I'm upset that it hasn't been done to this point, because
JD
I think
Martinez
if it was, I know. And it's just like, you would think that, and maybe the presence of JD over a longer period of time will help bear some better fruit for Baty moving forward. I don't know, but it's frustrating, because I think that he can be better, but the fact that it's just like this doubling down aspect. I think I talked about it last week. This doubling down aspect of whether it's listening to Chavez or talking about the quality of contact, or want to just put the ball in play as opposed to sitting back and ripping like we want him to. I don't know if it's that, but you're seeing the results. I would think you would pivot at this point and say, look, guys, there's a lot more blue as opposed to red. Maybe we should try something a little bit different to this point. That's where I am. Like, I love the fact that the guy's playing better defense. I love that he's not a butcher.
Got to give him credit there.
Got to give him credit there. And I talked about that last week also.
You know who helped him? That terrible, good for nothing scrub, Francisco Lindor, is the one who helped him.
Yeah, but they didn't have video on that, so they thought he wasn't working out. They didn't have video on that.
Yeah,
so they thought he was like being a dick and sitting home doing nothing.
This is a good one from Carlos, saying it was just the first signs of life we've seen from him. This is Baty in 2 seasons, 2 full seasons. So we all fell for it. Very small sample size. That's a good point. That's a good point. And Carson saying it's just the same crap. Even pulling aside, he's still taking inside pitches the opposite way. Habits like this have been the issue since forever, and the adjustment still has not been made at 24 years old. Chris Ferraro saying, did the hammy hurt him a lot? I don't think so. I know it did coincide. So. I know he was good for 2 weeks. Or better for 2 weeks. Then he hurt his hamstring. He missed a couple games. He came back and he has not been as good. So it's easy to point at that. But that's why I bring up what I brought up earlier and what Carson pointed out, which was there's still a tremendous amount of red flags even while he was doing better. And, I don't think that Beatty is ever going to be a guy that learns how to pull the ball. Now, hopefully, with JD Martinez here, one of the guys who was the poster child for changing swing path, he did it, and then Justin Turner did it.
Can we get him to that hitting coach? Can we?
Oh my God, dude! Can we get Daniel Murphy in here? Murphy.
Can we get Kevin Long? Can we just pay him some cash and say, hey, Kevin, why don't you work with this guy?
Daniel Murphy did, and Chris, I wasn't saying that you were providing that question as a means to say that that's what your thought process was, but clearing it up saying, I didn't think it did either. I don't think he's going to make it, unfortunately. I don't think so either. And maybe that brings us to the next guy. But before I do, I just want to jump back into these comments really quick. Sure. Carlos Ramos saying, John's showing off the love for Lindor and the sneaker game. And then Carlos Ortiz saying, does it go with the uni? Talking about the kicks. The uni is mostly black and red. So, went with a mostly black shoe. And then the accents are just for that little extra swag. Stand out, But
nothing wrong with having a little extra color. Always good.
Little bit of extra swag. I used to match everything meticulously to my uniform that I was wearing, but now I don't know. Honestly, it's probably just the MLB trend. Like guys go in different directions and wear like more outlandish colors. So now I've started being like, I'll just wear some, outlandish, secondary pieces, cleats and batting gloves and arm sleeves and wristbands and stuff like that. Anyway. Thing. Yeah, so it's just fun. It's fun to show a little bit of expression in there. So maybe the way that this Beatty and Beatty and McNeil conversation segues is to Vientos. Vientos comes up here. Marte goes on the bereavement list. They bring him up. He barrels up a couple balls, wins a game with a walk-off home run, and then they send him down. The other person that's affected is the worst baseball player I've ever seen. Kudos to Carson. He was way out in front of this, is Joey Wendell. Joey Wendell sucks. I don't know what Joey Wendell's good at. He was brought here to do defense, and he's terrible at defense. He can't hit. We already know he can't hit. It is what it is. Everybody was clamoring for Luis Guillorme. He's batting 158, and his defense is largely overrated as well. So I don't think that matters. Now, if you're clamoring for a guy like Jose Iglesias, who's already in the organization right now, that might be a thing. The Mets might be able to go there. Now, I don't think he's a great player, but I think he's going to be better than Joey Wendell. The problem is, it'd be that the Mets don't have a backup shortstop. And so I would love for them to designate Wendell and keep Vientos on the team. But they can't really do that because then who plays shortstop? I guess in an emergency situation, I'm not happy about this, but in an emergency situation, you could probably put McNeil there. I don't think he's going to be great, but I think you could put him there in an emergency. But you can't have him on the team as your backup just in perpetuity. Then you're never going to give Lindor a day off if McNeil is your backup. Because he's not your backup, he's your emergency shortstop, which I think he already is, by the way. I think McNeil is the emergency infielder. So, look, I think Vientos is getting a little bit of a raw deal here. But I just think that's the numbers game. And I think sending him down isn't crazy because I still think that Mark Vientos' best path back to the major leagues is playing third base for the Mets, despite the fact that he might not ever be good at third base. Because Brett Beatty, that leash is getting shorter.
You have DJ Stewart. You have JD Martinez. There's no avenue for Mark Vientos to get steady playing time as a DH now. And his defense is still not there because, like I just said before, Brett Beatty has done a fantastic job in bettering his defensive game to still have a hold on this third base position. I agree with you that Vientos' bat and profile probably gives you a better opportunity to score some runs and hit some home runs as opposed to Beatty. But the fact that he's still a butcher at third base is probably why he's not here, which is why when he got sent down, I am not shocked by that at all. And yeah, I agree that his defense did say, like, I'm not shocked at all. I know a lot of people were upset about it, but the numbers game, positional flexibility, and just the idea of allowing him to play every single day was what it came down to. And now look, we know that he's going to go down to AAA and dominate the pitching. We know that already. So it's the focus now isn't even about him putting up the numbers at AAA. We know it could be done over the last 2 seasons now. The focus is, can this guy play good enough defense where he can come back up and usurp, if you will, Beatty at third base? Like, that's essentially what the big question is going to be. And they're going to need to make a decision on that over, let's say, the next month or so, especially if Beatty doesn't start hitting. There's only so far that the defense will go. Now, can it get masked a little bit if these top 4 or 5 bats start, chugging along and doing what they're supposed to do? Yeah, it can mask it a little bit more, and you're going to stick with the defender. Like, I get that, but it becomes a lot more glaring, especially with Alvarez out, so it doesn't stretch the lineup up that far. So him getting sent down, not shocked, completely understand it. It sucks because he's coming off of such a huge moment, and I think there was a lot behind those screams when he hit home, when he rounded first, when he hit home, and then he went to the dugout. I think there was a lot of emotion in that, and I feel for him on that. But him getting sent down was something that I pretty much expected to happen once Marte was coming back.
Yeah, look, I mean, a couple of really good comments here. This is from Yamid saying, it's funny, I believe Vientos was a shortstop in high school. Yes, he was, but obviously
everyone's a shortstop.
He got really big and, he wasn't that good, and so they moved him. This comment from Carlos Ortiz, if they don't re-sign Pete, he can play first. I'm not wishing that, talking about Vientos. I think this is not Pete necessarily, but I think this is part of the logic, is that, look, Vientos doesn't have a role in this team right now, but there is no certainty with Pete. Now, I think it'll get done, but we don't know that. JD Martinez is here right now, but he's here on a 1-year deal. He's 36, going to be 37 years old or whatever it is. So there is going to be that. Like, that's why you can't just trade Vientos now, because you have to just see where the Mets are at the end of this season. So I don't think trading him now makes a ton of sense, or trading him in the offseason last year or whatever the case may be. When we look at this one from Chris saying they have to have somebody in the minors that can back up shortstop. They do. They have Jose Iglesias, and they also have the guy that they just signed that plays every position on the field from Milwaukee. So there is the Stearns connection there. But Ibby, and I forgot the guy's name. Somebody in the comments will remind me. But Ibby, the problem is that's a 1-for-1 with Joey Wendell. That does nothing to get Mark Vientos here. Because again, there's only so many roster spots. Now, this one from Carlos Ramos, Brett Beatty equals left field. I mean, what good is he in left field though? You know what I mean? Like, what the problem is?
Power from your corner outfielders.
That's what I'm saying, and he doesn't hit. And look, the Mets, to their credit, like, their outfield's been good. Bader has contributed a ton with the bat. DJ Stewart, we've already talked about that. And look, he's not a great outfielder, but he's going to play out there sometimes, especially he has now that JD Martinez is here. Marte has been better than I think anybody envisioned. His sprint speed is way down, but he's shown pop. He's shown to be more of the offensive player that he was 2 years ago, much more healthy.
Still stealing bags. Yeah.
Nimmo's not been great, but Nimmo's been in some ways Nimmo. And Tyrone Taylor's been exceptional in the role that you're asking him for.
Fantastic.
So where does Beatty fit into that mix? And Carlos, I'm not dragging you. I understand what you're trying to do. But to me, even though it seems to make sense on the surface, Ibby, that you could have a Beatty Vientos platoon, the Mets do not have the roster spots for a Beatty Vientos platoon. One of them has to go down, I think, for the other guy to be up here. I think if you're going to see what Vientos has as a third baseman, even if he's a butcher, even if he's absolute dog shit, well, guess what? Brett Beatty's got to go down. I think that's the only way this works.
I agree with that. We're getting to the point where it's Beatty or Vientos. It's not. We're at a point now with this offensive construction with the roster that it's not going to apply with both of them here, unless injuries happen. Other
sure. And somebody also said Acuna can be the backup shortstop. Well, yeah. If Acuna comes up here, yes, then he
who's
can
been
be the
doing
backup
better.
Shortstop.
Who has been doing better over his last, I want to say, 2 weeks worth of games, like 12 games. He's been doing better, so his numbers have risen. Not to the point where you're going to be like, oh my God, these numbers are jumping off the page. I talked about that last week, where the offensive players within the Mets system in general haven't been doing so hot. but they have been getting better over the last week or so. So those numbers are starting to climb, which is a good thing. But yeah, I mean, Acuna is a possibility if things get to that point. But if there's one thing I must say about, coming off Mark Vientos for a moment, just going to the giant elephant in the room of Joey Wendell for a lot of people, where your one job is to play defense. And
yeah, Chris Ferrara saying, I'm okay with a 1-for-1 swap with Wendell. Can't even use him for what he's here for, defense. And then saying, I don't think Vientos has to be here right now. He's more concerned about just getting Wendell off the team, which I agree with.
It's frustrating because when your job is to do one thing, you're expected to excel at your job. And I have been really, since we started this show, which now we're going on 3.5, 4 seasons. I have been very calm when it comes to how I watch Mets games now, because things change in life. You get more relaxed when watching things. You don't want it to drag you down or ruin your day. But I'm going to be honest here. That game on Monday was the first time in a long time where I felt how I felt years ago after a game, like angry and put off and legit bothered by that game, because it's one thing. I mean, it's because I coach kids too, and I always talk about knowing what to do if the ball comes to you. So it's always, working on, pre-pitch, thinking about if the ball comes to you, what am I doing? Think of the situation, who's on base, what's speed, like all these different things. So when a ball's hit to you at third base and you come in for defensive purposes, if that ball was hit hard, I understand trying to spin to get out of the inning, because Severino's coming off of, the lost no-hitter and thinking his pitch count's running up there. He might be running out of gas. Let's get him out of here and let's leave him. Let's leave his earned run unscathed, if you will. But when you have a ball hit to you that's a broken bat, and you see that a guy is breaking for home on contact off of a broken bat, and you have him dead to rights,
he was
still thinking you have,
I think, Ibby, no exaggeration, when Wendell fielded the ball
25 feet,
runner, 25 feet off of third. He was like 70 feet from home plate. He was far. He was not halfway.
I was so angry when I saw that, because, like I said, hard hit ball, I get it. You have enough time, you can spin it quick. Great pitch by Severino. Sawed his hands off. Gets a great pitch, broken bat. That's a slow runner. You see the guy breaking home, you get the out. I understand that's only 2 outs, and then you're putting Severino still in that spot. The pitcher men on first and second, but you cut off the run because you're up 1-0. You have no cushion here. Get the out and then move on to the next. People want to talk about the offense and they weren't hitting and it goes beyond Wendell. You can talk about that later on. I'm talking about within that moment. Your job is defense. Your job is to know what to do when you have the ball. Thinking that you can turn to on that ball, on a broken bat, slow roller, when the guy is dead to rights by 70 feet, is absolutely ridiculous. And I understand that they didn't do enough scoring, and you can chalk it up to other factors as well as to why they lost the game. But things change. You can't take everything in a vacuum. Things change if they get out of that inning 1-0. You can't assume that all things are going to go exactly the way that they did. You can't assume that pitchers are going to throw the same pitch in the same spot when the score is different. There's a lot of things. There's different timelines here. Okay, mm-hmm. There's different timelines, and we're not the TVA, but there's different timelines of all of this. So when I saw that, I got so pissed off, because I think of just fundamentals, knowing what to do in a spot, thinking, what am I going to do when I get the ball? Like, that's why I got so fucking angry, and ultimately why I put the game on him, because that was the turning point of that game. I know that they didn't hit enough, but I got so fucking mad at that point, because you should know what to do with the ball when it comes to you in that spot.
And I agree. I mean, I tweeted out that you win as a team, you lose as a team, except tonight. This is on Joey Wendell. And I understand, to Chris's point, like you said, the offense is the reason why we lost, but the blunder was a real mood killer. Armand saying Wendell has really pissed me off Monday. I've not had that feeling in a long time. Carson saying Joey Wendell has made me Hansel Robles levels of mad already. And that's not easy for me. That's not easy to do for those that don't know how he feels about that man. And then Rosie saying Wendell's a liability. should. He cost the Mets games. It can't happen with a team on the edge. And the reason why I bring up all those comments is because, Ibby, I'm with you in that, yeah, okay, I guess, Diaz gives up the home run. That sucks. It is what it is. The offense didn't do enough. It is what it is. But if your job is to play defense, you cannot make that play in that spot. And it's not just one, because everybody gets one. You can make a mistake. You could have a mental blunder. If Joey Wendell to this point has played Gold Glove defense and his logic is, I'm trying to get out of the inning, I'm trying to make a play, I'd still be mad, but I'd be less mad because I'm like, look, this guy doesn't hit, but every time they put him in the field, he's been stellar. He's been fantastic. He has a great defensive reputation. The guy, maybe it's the wrong play, but it's hard to argue with the guy who's making the play that he was trying to get to and trying to get out of the inning and trying to get, right there on one pitch, on one play. But he's been bad. So his reputation goes out the window. His credibility gets shot in the foot because none of what he's ever done before matters to me. I watch a guy who's in a Mets uniform, terrible. So I don't care what his logic is of like, oh, well, we'll try to throw the ball around the horn. And like, just throw the ball home. Stop trying to make it overcomplicated. Throw the ball home, get the out, and let's see what our guys have got. There's another play. You live to fight another day. So I put it on him. I don't care. I really, truly don't care. I'm putting it all at the feet of Joey Wendell. Sorry. I just pulled up a comment at the same time you did.
I think we're doing the same one. Yeah, I think because, Carson's 100% spot on here. It's true that the offense didn't do the job, but this has happened multiple times already where he's costed us the game for what he was brought in for. Run prevention was emphasized for these moments. And when you're working within these small margins for this team where you have to succeed in certain spots in order to win ball games, if that is going to be a problem for what you've been brought in here to do to help us stay within said margins, I'm sorry, I'm putting it at your feet. I have to, because you're the reason why that this game ended up being tied. This is why a certain pitch is thrown, then one gets hit out, and then the offense falters because it's been a little bit up and down. But you need to be perfect when you're trying to play defense, especially when you've been brought in here to play defense.
Yeah. I don't want to beat a dead horse on it. Everybody's right. You're right. I'm right. Everybody with Joey Wendell is right in that spot. Douglas Barnes saying, great show, guys. I got to finish filling in my scorebook. Let's go Mets. Ibby, the reason why I bring that up is because we're just about ready to get out of here anyway. Over an hour and 30 minutes, just about 300 people in here. We appreciate each and every single one of you guys for being with us for the entire show, any portion of the show, listening later, listening to half of it, watching half of it, however you choose to consume the show. We truly, truly appreciate it. And I've got some bad news, maybe some good news, depending on how you guys feel about it. Next week, I will not be on the show either. Next week, I've got some stuff to do Wednesday, right in the middle of when we would be recording. So I'm not going to be here. So if you like when Ibby is without me because you hate me, well, guess what? Tune in because Ibby's going to be flying solo. If you're going to miss me, well, I apologize. I'll be back the week after that. But Ibby, I hate to miss 2 out of the last 3 weeks, but it's just how it goes sometimes. I appreciate you, filling in and doing a great job without me. But I will be back the week after. So bummed that I won't be able to talk Mets with you, but looking forward to everything that we got going on this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll make it work. We'll have some fun. We'll try to do what we can. But like I said, it's better when both of us are here having this conversation. And obviously echoing the things that are said in the chat as well. Like and subscribe to the channel. 287 of you are in here right now. Majority of you are over on Twitter. So thank you so much. Make sure you follow us, follow the show account. Use the promo code TMDUP at checkout for Manscaped to get 20% off. Tell them that we sent you. But if you're over on Twitter, follow us, follow the show handle. If you would like, head on over. I'd appreciate it. John would as well. Head on over to YouTube. I know on YouTube right now, because I figured some things out, I can see certain things. So I know that 20 plus of you are watching right now, but you're not commenting over here. So if you could do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. Join us moving forward. If you're still with us, which a lot of you have been, even though you haven't said anything, join us, have some fun, sub the channel. Those 20 plus of you would push us to 750. That'd be kind of cool. We would like to hit that number. So hit the subscribe button. We really appreciate it. We got a lot of cool things coming up. I'm still working on getting a certain guest for us. Hopefully, maybe by the time John gets back, so not the 8th, the following show. Working on that. So we're seeing if we can make that work, or at least some point during the month of May. Still working on it, so I don't want to say anything just yet. But we do have some cool stuff on the horizon, a lot of cool stuff, and hopefully our Mets can stay hot, find a rhythm. Hopefully the offense can find a rhythm. We got a game in a couple of minutes. Got to make some dinner and watch. I know John's got a softball game, but
my softball game is way later. My softball game's at 9 p.m. West Coast time, so you guys will be asleep when I'm playing softball.
See, I always forget. Like, he's got this whole time thing. He's whatever. But it's the afternoon for him. It's nighttime over here for me.
But I will be rocking these bad boys, though.
But he'll be rocking those bad boys. Hopefully, he gets a couple of hits. You better get some hits. But yeah, other than that, always fun. Thank you, everyone, so much for being here. 291 of you. Again, those of you that are quiet right now, hit the sub. Be here with us. Join the chat. We want to talk with everybody. I love that we've gained some new people over the last handful of days, handful of shows. So hit the subscribe, like the video, sub the channel, have some fun with us. Thank you so much.
That's it. I don't have anything to add. We will see you guys, or at least Ibby will see you next week. I'll be back with you in 2 weeks. All that stuff he said about subscribing to the channel, following us across whatever platforms you want to. It's at Til Mets Do Us, at Til Mets Do Us Part on Twitter and on Instagram. It's at johnsaponaro. It's at poison_Ibby. That's where you can find us. So go ahead and follow us and engage in the conversation. And like Ibby said, the Mets are about to start in 2 minutes. So LFGM, we will see you guys next time. Peace.